This is your one stop for all things music related. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our guest for today. From Matson Multimedia, please welcome John Negrete. How you doing today, John?
Hello, how are you today?
I'm great. I'm great.
Good, good. Thank you for the invite.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just kind of looking over my notes and everything, and we have been doing business together since 2015.
I
And
know, time flies. Time flies fast.
yeah, it does, and it's it's always been quality on point. I've just always it's been a great experience working with you, and so when I wanted to start the podcast, I definitely wanted to share, you know, um, my journey, and also just in music, how we get our music to our listeners. And I
Right.
think you've already stayed on top of a lot of the newest trends and things about that. So, can you maybe share some of your background and your journey?
Sure, I'd love to. And it's this December, I'll be celebrating my 40th year in this business. So I've been doing this a long time.
Yeah.
I, I, I'm, I'm blessed that I had a family member who was part owner of a 8-track and cassette manufacturing company here in San Antonio.
Okay.
And so I was going to college and I needed a job. And I asked my aunt who ran the company, I said, hey, her name was Pat Alvarado. And I asked her, hey, I need something part-time, just anything, just whatever. I go, well, she tells me I got a grunt job. And it was literally a grunt job. I mean, it was at the lowest point of the totem pole. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And but I learned everything about the business. We went from 8 tracks, of course. That was being phased out when I came in 1984. It was being phased out, and then we were jumping hard and heavy into cassettes.
Okay.
So that's most of my time was just dealing with cassette tape, and that was just incredible. We worked for record labels and producers, a lot of independent artists throughout Texas,
Okay.
and we had some pretty high-profile customers. At that time, the company was called Marsall Productions, and that
Mhm.
was a family business owned by Senator Jose Menendez's father, Tony Menendez, my aunt, Pat Alvarado, and another gentleman named Felix Elizondo. And Felix ended up leaving and started a distribution company.
Okay.
But I have an extensive background in the music industry. I
Wow.
thought I was going to leave it behind after I finished school, and I didn't. I just loved it. I
Just kept coming
loved it.
back.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I could not leave it. It became a part of me.
So what would you say is the motivation that really, the main motivation? Is it a love of music, or just the different moving parts, or what?
Um, it's a little bit of everything. It's watching people's creative juices just running wild, and we get a chance to put it all together for them. When they come in, at that time, we were working with different photographers and different graphic artists that come in, and we do a complete layout of the whole design of their jackets, their album covers, whatever it was that we were working on at the time. I forgot to mention we were still doing a little bit of vinyl work at the time.
Okay.
And then that got phased out. But just watching their heart and soul come to life, that's the best way to put it. And it's fascinating to be a part of that. I've always was a sort of an artist myself. So at some point, I guess I have to say late 90s or so, I started designing albums for other artists.
Okay.
So I started doing that a little bit more frequently.
So are you an artist or a musician?
Artist. Yeah,
Okay.
artist. More than music. The other part of being in this business is that I had a bunch of just really fun friends, and we would, for hours, sit around, talk about music, and record music at the same time.
Okay.
So I was never a musician. I just got the pleasure of sitting down and recording with them.
Okay.
And so this whole thing evolved from when I was a teenager. And as it progressed into working for the family business, it was just a part of me. I could never leave it alone. And so it's part of my DNA. And you just, it's like you're a musician, it's a part of who you are.
Yeah.
You can't leave that behind no matter what
No.
you can't leave it behind.
No.
I find that sketching and drawing, and then finally started to, as we started getting computers into business, because everything when we started out, it was just you do the photography, you do some typography, you cut and paste, you shoot stuff with a camera, you do things with negatives. There was a lot involved in just putting an album together, or CD or cassette together, but there was a lot involved. But as we continue to make the progress into computers, computers just made things so much more efficient. But
so what would you say that, the insight on, like, I guess over the last, would you say 5, 6, 7 years, there's been a shift with the CDs to other formats?
As we moved out of cassettes and CDs, were we're going to become the dominant format, and it's still the best format. I personally think, at least as far as the audio quality. It was sad. I think really COVID really put the
shift.
The shift really hard, because then streaming really streaming's been around for a long time. The sad part about it is that streaming doesn't give the artist a lot of income, as opposed to a tangible item, a CD has been.
Absolutely, but I feel that the listener doesn't really care, because it's been just a gradual shift of taking, making it more impersonal, with the relationship between the artist and the listener. They're just listening to music without really making the connection of the artist and the process of that artist's body of work and that kind of thing. It's like a single. Everybody's doing a single, and it's just a song. It's just music, among so many other things that's going on with people. So I think there's just this impersonal kind of thing, and it makes it so hard. The only way to really connect with people is at your live shows. That's the only way people can really, connect, and that's the only time they generally will want to buy music from you.
Right, because it's an emotional buy. I think that's one thing where albums or vinyl has done a really good job over the last, say, 10 years and forward, and it's still doing a wonderful job right now, because it's a really large format, right? And still people are we see it. Even though it's an old format, it does the thing that CDs can't do right now, because it's a large format, and you can touch it, feel it. You can pull out the sleeve. You can read all of the lyrics. You can read, who wrote the music, guest musicians. That's an experience, and
now, does it lend itself to a certain type of music? Would you say, when I think about an album, I think about, something that's, something that's like either if you did the music of, like, say, an artist, or, something that was old school, or a tribute type of an album that you would do. And, I don't know, I guess any kind of music can be an album, but, I always think of it being something like a tribute type, something really spectacular, because doesn't it cost more?
Unfortunately, yes. a lot more. That's the interesting part about this. When I grew up with albums and records, you could buy a full length album, but fold out for $7, and
Mhm.
your regular single sleeve album was $4.99.
Wow.
Today, a single sleeve album is like $25, and then a full fledged fold out album, it's $30 and above. The cost is just it's astronomical, but um, I keep up with a lot of that, and even my children who are young.
Uh-huh.
I have a 19-year-old one, and well, she's about to be 20, and a 14-year-old child. And if I say, "Hey, I'm going to go to the record store," oh, they're with me. They're in the car already to
Wow.
go look for albums.
That's
So
great.
that's again, albums have done something phenomenal and have connected people, and I think that it's done a really wonderful job. And CDs, I think I see CDs coming back a little bit. They're coming back a little bit stronger now. I keep up with the sales, the annual sales of CDs and vinyl. Of course,
Mhm.
vinyl has outpaced CDs.
Really?
Uh,
So can we
yeah.
talk about USBs? I mean, where does that fall in?
Okay. And that actually was a little slow to start. I
Okay.
was surprised, but right now for us, I'm gonna put up one of the CDs from one of
Okay.
my customers. Okay, so this
Okay.
CD has, it's engraved.
Wow.
It's got inside and outside print,
I like
um,
that.
and they're doing really well. I was totally surprised that I've got um, right now this week alone, which is kind of unusual. We have about 10 artists doing USBs, and they're all have taken it to a different level. Some have put lyric sheets of their music in there, included
Hmm.
with the USB. I have one that's going to they had a live show in Milwaukee
Hmm.
recently, and then they're going to take a small video clip of the band and they're going to put that together, and we're going to throw that in the upcoming USB. And that's personal too. That keeps them connected.
And is
Um,
there a certain amount that is the usual amount that people are ordering? Is it 100, 300?
uh, we've made it very affordable to our customers, so they're ordering anywhere between 25 and 100 at a time. So that's kind of the
Oh.
sweet numbers. They're ordering because some customers of ours, they have, like, I have one customer, he has 6 albums. So we're
Mhm.
doing 6 albums on USBs.
Oh, wow.
Um,
So you can put all of that, and then what would be the cost, for, would it be in the 25, $30 range, 45?
uh, well, for the manufacturing or for
For
retail.
independent artists, say if you had like a project and you have, some of your older works on there and
Mhm.
you wanted to sell it. I know you could sell it for whatever you want to,
Right, right.
you
But like
know.
on our end, a lot of our customers, if they bring me ready art, all the artwork's ready. I just send them the templates, they design it, and they bring it back to us. Um, the only thing we have to do, we do the programming on all the USBs, only
Okay.
because we want to make sure it's done right. We don't
Mm.
just slap a bunch of MP3s on there. The programming is really, really important because this way, when you put it in your car or iTunes, the thumbnails will show up. The
Okay.
album cover will show up. All the track listing will show up. Everything will be there. All the metadata that needs to be with the USB will show up. And then
Okay.
there's a separate folder for your PDFs or your video clips if you want to put those in there.
Okay.
That'll
I,
be in a
I
separate
think I'm gonna
folder.
have to get some. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean
Right.
it keeps the customer connected, especially say you put a lyric sheet and you put a live link to, say, your website
Yeah.
or your Facebook or whatever it may be, to keep you connected with your fan base. I mean, it works really well.
Wow.
Um,
That's wonderful.
and so it's a new item, and we're hoping that it moves, it captures more a bigger audience.
Can you show that
Um,
again? Because I
oh,
think a lot
sure.
of times people
So
think, yeah, people think when they see a USB, it's just this little thing, but this actually
no,
kind of,
yeah,
is big enough to for people
right.
for to
So
be
and you see
interesting.
that on this side, yeah. So what we
Uh-huh.
do with ours is we engrave all ours. We
Yeah.
don't print them with any ink because at some point the ink will rub off.
Okay.
So we just engrave ours, and of course you can put as you can see, there's print on the inside of this package, and
Yeah.
it's about the size of a vintage cassette.
Yeah. I
And they're
really, really
wrapped.
like that. Yeah.
And so we have a customer that is actually, we're designing the cover to look like a cassette, but it's going to be his album cover. It's going to look cool.
Okay. And what's the
So
turnaround time for something like that?
those, here's the great thing. It's usually a week.
A week.
A week. Yeah. We
Okay.
usually a week. At the most 2 weeks. It depends on the workload. But
Okay.
it's in most cases it's a week.
Okay.
So yeah,
Yeah.
we see this progression of where I started. I started 8 tracks, cassettes, CDs.
Yeah.
I've not done albums. I usually send out customers. A lot of customers want to do albums and vinyl, so we usually send them to one of the local Texas shops and that
Okay.
do vinyl.
Okay.
Um, there's some great companies out there that do vinyl. I mean, that's what they do, and they do it day in, day out.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Jack White of the White Stripes, he has been a huge advocate for vinyl and for the music industry and for the independent artists. The guy has done a phenomenal job of pushing why an independent artist has to invest in himself and
Right.
put out product on himself for himself or herself,
Yeah.
because that's how they are going to really generate funds for themselves. I mean, because that's how they make money. I mean, that's
And
that's how they
nobody
make a
wants
living.
Right. Nobody wants to be stuck with 1,000 CDs,
Right.
and then you do a show and people say, "Oh, I don't even have a CD player." So I think you're gonna have
Yeah.
to, you know,
Yeah.
have to accommodate.
Right.
Although the
Right.
older generation will say, "I like CDs because
Right.
that's what I'm used to. That's what I like." So I think on some level you probably want to be able to offer both. You know.
Yeah. I mean, we're going strong. Like this week, it's funny we're having this conversation, but this week is where we have the Tano explosion here in town, and then we
Right.
also have South by Southwest going on. So we have artists that are the South by Southwest customers are doing USBs, which is,
Okay.
so those customers are doing USBs and getting ready for South by Southwest in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a change. It's a big change, and
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
kind of we're just glad that we're a part of it. So
So, can you give any advice to independent? And I say independent artists because there aren't a lot of artists that are actually signed with companies anymore,
right,
and those that are really signed with companies they're not really interested so much in CDs or anything. They're just streaming for the most part.
right. Well, being in the industry this long, I've seen the bad and the good, right? And so when we do have some young artists come in here and they're very naive about their music and what they've done, and they've done a great job putting it all together, but then I do tell them and free advice. I tell them, hey, get a lawyer, get your stuff copyrighted.
Mm.
If you're going to have a particular logo, get it trademarked. I mean, these are the things that they're not always thinking about because they don't understand that. God, I've been involved with so many a few legal things with customers over the ages, and so they definitely, that is the best advice I'll ever give any young person. It is get an attorney. There's a couple of good music attorneys here in town, but get an attorney and most of all, copyright your music. Get it done right. Go to the government copyright.gov, I believe, or I forgot the I can't say exactly what
Well, we'll
what the
put all
website
the
is,
links.
but
Yeah, we'll do all the
copywriting
links. Yeah.
copywriting is so important
Yeah.
because I've seen so many horror stories and I've witnessed those, and That's the
Now,
one
do
thing
you
that's really
require
sad.
that before you take a job or anything, that all of the songs are copywritten or that they own the rights, or you?
No, I mean legally, I mean I can't give any legal advice, but I mean we just
So you'll print
we can still
anything, but
do it. Yeah,
yeah.
we can still
But
do
if
it.
it's not right, then it's going to be on them.
Correct, correct. That
Yeah.
is correct. Yeah, I
Okay.
mean that's. But so in my case, where I work with a lot of studios, and in a lot of the independent artists that do come, they come well prepared. Um, I
Yeah.
just picked up a new customer out of Georgia, of all places,
Okay.
and they have done an impeccable job of, you know, dotting the I's and crossing the T's, making
Hmm.
sure that everything is all the metadata was on their masters. I mean, they've done a phenomenal job. And this gentleman, he's not he hasn't been in the business too long, but he's just did
Hmm.
a phenomenal job of just making sure that he did everything properly. And
Yeah. Yeah.
it's easy to work with somebody like that when they just bring
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
Even you guys, you and
Oh.
Luther are just I don't have to worry about anything. Just it just comes. His artwork is perfect. The master's perfect. It just
Yeah.
it makes our job a lot easier. I will say that. That's for sure.
Well, yeah, this is definitely why I'm at the point that I feel like, I need to do these podcasts, because, you can't half do it now and then make excuses later why, well,
Right.
I didn't know, or, all these things, because it's irreversible in a lot of cases. If you sign something and you hope that it works out.
Right.
You definitely, because if you have something pressed up and you don't own the rights, and then it's a big
Yeah.
mess.
You're right.
So
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and I've seen it. I mean, without mentioning any names, I mean, one time I was working for the family business, and we were running a job. I kid you not, we had 80,000 CDs on our loading dock,
Oh my gosh.
and we had to stop production because of a legal issue.
Wow.
And those things happen, you know? And so they're not, you know, they're they hurt everyone because
Yeah.
you know, uh, you know, people can get hurt, and it's all about a dollar. So
It
nobody
still gotta
wants to.
pay.
You got to pay. I mean, we manufactured 80,000 CDs, and we were stopped in our tracks from getting. I had just at that time I was the shipping manager of that business,
Mhm.
and I had just prepped product to go out to, you name it, Walmart's, Targets, Kmart's, a big distribution company, one in Houston and one in Chicago. I mean, this stuff was. I mean, I had literally just called a truck to pick it all up, and we
Wow.
had to stop. And so these things do happen. So
Yeah,
that's why I tell
unfortunately.
customers, yeah, just do your due diligence, and
Yeah, yeah,
like you said, because it's so hard to go back.
yeah,
It's so hard
yeah.
to go back.
And so, I've worked with different, I won't mention any names, but, prior to meeting you, um, I've worked with different manufacturing companies where I had to have it shipped, and the shipping cost was just astronomical, you know.
Oh,
Um,
oh yeah.
yeah, to
And
have,
and since COVID really drove the cost even further,
oh, wow.
and it really changed things because right now actually we've seen prices kind of level off, so the freight's not too bad.
Yeah.
But
But
it's
USBs would be cheaper.
a lot
Yeah,
cheaper. Yeah, yeah, a lot
a
cheaper.
lot
A
cheaper.
lot cheaper. Yeah, they
Yeah,
are. They are.
so that
So
would be
they
good.
weigh they don't weigh a whole lot.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I actually like the fact that you can put so much. You can put multiple CDs. You can put videos. So
right,
you can kind of really put together a nice little package.
right,
Presentation, if you will.
right, right.
And I really like that idea. So yeah, I would encourage independent artists to explore USBs, and
Well,
I'm going to
that's
do that as well. Yeah.
yeah, that's it's funny you said it because that's a couple of the clients that we got in this past week. That's what they did, and they were all specifically targeted for South by Southwest, and so they're trying to get
Mhm.
signed.
Yeah.
So they made USBs, and they had their what they call it, a P um it's an EP kit, it's
Oh yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
I
EPK.
believe
Yeah,
that's what it's called.
yeah.
But they had video clips, they had a couple of songs,
Oh yeah.
wave format, so that way they were high quality, and
Yeah.
MP3s, and of course a bio sheet.
Bio. Right, right. One
But
sheet.
they had everything in there, all self-contained in the
Yeah.
USB, and then we engraved their names on the USBs, and
Mm-hmm.
just a really nice package for them. And then they're
Yeah.
going to hand those out,
Mm-hmm.
and we wish them a lot of luck. But
Yeah.
yeah, I thought it was a really clever idea to do that, and they didn't know that we did that at first, but they just by chance, these customers called us up and said, "Hey, can you do this?" I said,
Yeah.
"We called
Yeah.
the right place. We can do it."
Like
And they
that.
needed it right away. I mean, they
I like
needed them,
that.
in a few days. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so
Well, great. Well, in closing, do you have any other anything else you'd like to share?
no, I mean, we I've been blessed to be in this business all this time. Um, I My aunt, who gave me a shot at learning everything about this business, and my shout out is to women business owners, and women who are run their own businesses, and who are entrepreneurs. If it wasn't for a woman just showing me what to do, learning how to deal with people, talk to people, ask questions, and listen. That's the most
Mm,
important thing. It's just
mm.
listening. Um, and that has been a blessing to me. I love this business, and I hope I can do it a lot longer, um, and continue to watch the change and continue to evolve. I guess that's the best way to put it. But as they say, some old things come back. Yeah. So we see that with vinyl, and I have
Yeah.
a friend of mine who he calls me up every night. Hey, have you started up a vinyl pressing plant yet? So, no, that takes a few mil to get started.
Really? Oh wow.
Yeah, that takes a few million to get started. So
Yeah.
not it, we never know. I mean, it's hard to say. But right now, I'm blessed that we have this new product, the USBs, and they're doing well, and
Hmm.
we continue to hopefully they continue to do so till the next thing
Yeah.
comes out.
Well, continued success, and I'm going to be in touch about getting some USBs from you for my shows coming up this summer. And
Okay,
so it's been great talking to you. And
great talking to you,
yeah, thank you so much for coming on the
and I
podcast.
appreciate you inviting me. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All
All
right.
right.
Hey, this is your girl Althea Rene, and I'm hosting my first smooth jazz cruise, and I hope to see you there. Foster Perry Travel presents Jazz on the Water, October 13th through October 20th. We will rock the high seas with my musical guest, the saxophone sensation discovered by Prince, B.K. Jackson, and James Lloyd, the keyboard killer from Pieces of a Dream. We'll also be dancing the night away with Houston's line dance leader, Janice My Style Davis. We sail on Royal Caribbean's new luxurious cruise ship, the Wonder of the Seas, from Port Canaveral, Florida, visiting the beautiful East Caribbean, docking in Coco Cay, St. Thomas, and St. Martin. Get your cabins now at althearenejazzcruise.com.